This is KTVO's Good Morning Heartland.
And welcome back. Health officials are hopeful that a change to the flu vaccine will minimize outbreaks this winter. According to new reports, more than 54,000 Missourians were diagnosed with the flu last season, the most since 2003. The U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention says blame is traced to a mismatched vaccine that did not protect against most of the virus strains that made people sick. Now, to learn more on what they're doing differently this year and, of course, how to protect yourself from the flu, we have Dr. Puckett from Complete Family Medicine here this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So what are they doing differently this year?
Well, you know what, it's really not a whole lot different. But what happens is every year as the flu moves around the globe, they look at it and try to make a determination of which different strain they want to include into the flu vaccine, because there are many different varieties of flu and many of them are just very small regional flus, and so they don't really hit the big road. But they try to pick those ones that are. And so this year's flu vaccine is very similar to last year's flu vaccine actually. But we're just anticipating that this year's flu that's going to come our direction is going to be more susceptible to the vaccine. Last year it wasn't really that the vaccine didn't work, so to speak. It was that the virus had that shift, and so it changed just enough to fool the vaccine. So the body's built up this immunity, and then whenever the virus would come in, the body wouldn't see it as flu and wouldn't protect against it. And so this year we're hopeful that we're going to be in good shape. You know, the flu vaccine, even at its best, is between a 60–70% success rate. So you still can get the flu after you've had the flu vaccine. But when we start talking about that last year we saw over 36,000 deaths in this country, and we talk about knocking that number in half because last year's flu vaccine was 10–20% effective. You know, those are big numbers and those are life-changing numbers.
All right. So talk about the outlook for this year. What are we looking at?
Well, we haven't seen much flu coming this way yet, and so we're waiting to kind of see when the timing is going to hit. And we usually expect that peak to occur in January, February, and that's the case again. You know, the way that the flu vaccines are devised now, you don't really need to wait. There used to be a perception that you needed to wait until late October to get your flu vaccine so it was still working strong. And even the shots now are showing at least 6 to 9 months of great protection, and the nasal spray up to a year. So we've got, you know, I think if everybody gets out there, and it takes all of us, because we got to all get the vaccine so that we don't keep transmitting it down the line. And as long as enough of us get the vaccine, we should have hopefully a much improved flu season this year.
All right, so you just touched base on the nasal spray and of course the shot. I mean, is there a preference? Does one work better than the other, or is it just up to the individual if they prefer a shot or a nasal spray?
Well, every child over age 6 months should get a vaccine, and they're only eligible for the shot up until age 2. From ages 2 to 49 are eligible for a choice of either the shot or the nasal spray. And then over the ages of 50 or above needs to get the shot. And then key point here is that those over age 65 really need to get the high-dose flu vaccine as long as it's available. So just because that one vaccine that you want to get might not be available, you don't want to really postpone that too long into the season. But right now, I would definitely try to target that high-dose flu vaccine if I was over the age of 65. Relative to the shot and the nasal spray, there were some studies that made us think that maybe the nasal spray created a little bit stronger immunity. In adults, we're not so sure. In kids, probably so. So I do usually encourage that kids, and they usually don't argue with me about a nasal spray versus another shot. But really the key thing is get something in. We get lots of questions about the trivalent versus the quadrivalent, and we're almost exclusively quadrivalent at this point. And so again, as long as it's available, I would get the 4 strains, both of the H1N1, the H3N2, and both types of the type B vaccine.
Now, of course, every year health officials always encourage and urge people to get their flu shot. Are there groups of people out there that are advised not to get the flu shot?
Very, very, very few.
Okay.
So things, as we give you your flu shot, things we talked about before is that making sure that you've not had a history of Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a ascending paralysis, and it's a very rare condition, that you've not had a severe allergic reaction to the flu shot that has compromised your airway and maybe nearly killed you. If you, with the nasal spray, there are a couple of special questions that we ask relative to asthma, and if there's any uncontrolled asthma or other respiratory respiratory problems, and we don't want to spray that spray up your nose. But essentially, you know, the vaccine is so safe and available in preservative-free forms that there really are very few people who are suggested against getting the vaccine.
All right, so we've been doing this segment for about 4 years now on the morning show, and for the last 4 years I've gotten my flu shot on the morning show just to show everybody out there how easy and how pain-free it is. And I would like to say, for those that say, oh, I don't get the flu shot because I don't want to get sick because I always end up getting sick, I haven't gotten sick since I've gotten my flu shot, so
it's probably based on the administrator.
Let's go ahead and knock on some wood, but you're just going to go ahead, and you say you usually do it on your non-dominant hand because it kind of gets a little sore,
well,
right?
yeah, just if it were to get a bit sore, and that way we want to make sure that your right hand is in good order, and so of course there's a consent that we had you fill out and sign that just says that you indeed want this, and then it's just as simple as finding that little muscle and a poke and an injection.
And we are good to go.
And we are good to go, not a drop of blood. But just so you can get sympathy from everybody here at the station today, we better make sure. I got a nice boring Band-Aid. I didn't bring anything hot pink or anything today.
I should have requested that when you asked me.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that simple.
That's okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. What we'll do is we'll post everything on our website at KTVO.com, and we'll link up your information as well because flu shots are now available, correct?
Yes, they are.
All right. And we'll be right back.